That's a perfect way to start a morning, even better than coffee, I say. Hello there, you're tuned to the only show on English radio that brings the voices of our youth straight to you from their schools. I'm Joel Chua, standing in for Angela Lim this morning. Today Campus is coming to you live from Bukit Panjang Government High, and we will be discussing the impact of the population white paper and what impact that will have on the future of our youths. Let's go to our student representative on panel right now, Sarah. From a young person's perspective, how do you think the proposals spelled out in the population white paper will affect you?
There are many ways in which the white paper can affect our younger generation. We can look at cultural, like as young people, right, as we go out to work and as we stay in Singapore, we actually hope to see that we have a strong national identity. We hope to have a strong culture in Singapore, one that is individual to us. So as the white paper encourages an increase in population, many young people might not be open to this idea because we are all afraid that when they come, perhaps our Singapore national identity might be diluted. And so as a young person, right, I can say that I worry about job opportunities in the future because foreign students and workers actually bring along competition with them. So as a young person, as you go out to work, you find that the competition does not slow down but only gets more and more intense. So we can actually say that we worry about jobs, we worry about cost of living, infrastructure, and we also worry about education, whether we will be able to afford the cost of living in future for ourselves as well as our children.
Okay, my name is Kelvin. I'm going to ask a question which is about the foreigners. Okay, I've heard that by 2030, right, there will be only 55% of the population will be pure Singaporean. So how is Singapore going to prevent this dilution? Will the Singapore spirit be lost?
Right. I really love the idea that you as a non-Singaporean are asking that question. It shows a certain bigness on your part to be able to think outside of your own immediate concerns. No, I'm not talking about physical size. You look fit, right? You look fit. A kind of intellectual bigness on your part, being able to look beyond your own concerns.
My question is, there's this big focus on the physical infrastructure to contain 6.9 million people when come 2030. However, I think there needs to be more focus on the social infrastructure to hold together a community of 6.9 million people so as to be able to stick together, thick and thin through all the troubles that might come to Singapore.
Hi, I'm Ting Wen. My question is that since the government is trying to and planning to get in more foreigners to support our economy and infrastructure, how is it going to be sustainable? Because they are getting in adults that are still going to grow old one day.
Hi, I'm Hershus. In Japan, they are facing similar problems as we are facing now, like low total fertility rate and aging population. But they came out with policies like work-life balance to encourage more people to give birth to children and to include more aging population in their workforce. So I was wondering if we can consider to adapt their policies before thinking of bringing in foreigners to solve our problems now and in future.
My question is, there's this big focus on the physical infrastructure to contain 6.9 million people when come 2030. However, I think there needs to be more focus on the social infrastructure to hold together a community of 6.9 million people so as to be able to stick together, thick and thin through all the troubles that might come to Singapore.
I'd like to question the sustainability of the planned population increase. The population, one of the aims is to have economic growth, but by 2030, after we reach that certain point, we are also Singapore is going to be run by the contribution of its citizens and also the foreign talents. But if we reach a certain point, are we going to further forsake the quality of life to further increase to support this economic growth?
When you talk about quality of life, what are the components in quality of life for you?
The main thing will be like the cost of living or the constraints on transportation.
Okay.
Right now we are already facing some issues in these areas.
Hi, I'm Rajat. My question is, many of us here, the males, we have to, once we reach the age of 18, the PRs and citizens, we have to serve NS. Using the projected number of 6.9 million like what Calvin had said earlier, 45% are foreigners, nearly 50% are foreigners. So at such an instance, are we defending Singaporeans or are we defending foreigners?
Hi, my name is Vijay. My question is based on transport infrastructure. Taking the projected 6.9 million that we may have by 2030, what kind of policies and systems that can the government set up to ensure that the 6.9 million, those that are working, those that are traveling every day can go there without too much obstruction? Like already with the population now, there's a lot of crowd in MRTs and buses.
Yeah, I agree. As in, if you want to be a PR, it's true that Singapore is encouraging PRship, and another factor that you must consider is your loyalty towards Singapore. If you are loyal and you wish to contribute to Singapore, naturally you will be recognized.
But how do you measure loyalty? How do you know if a person is loyal?
Would be doing your best for Singapore. Like for PRs that go to serve NS, right? There must be a sense of commitment, knowing that you have a stake in Singapore, even if you're not a citizen. But you do your best to work with fellow Singaporeans. You do your best to defend the country in times of need. That's one example. And then another example maybe could be PRs in the workplace. We are aware that like PRs these days, you are contributing to Singapore's economy. So when you do that, right, you must do it wholeheartedly. Don't have reservations, as in you have things against Singaporeans, you want to win them, you want to outdo them, things like that. But have sincerity towards Singapore, have sincerity towards our national identity.
Thank you very much, sir. Anyone else has anyone to say? Maybe 2 or 3 more questions and we'll have to end off. Yeah.
Goals.
Okay, but I pointed to you first. So we'll take your question and we'll take the other 2 questions then.
Okay, first off, am I right in saying that the issue over the population white paper spread primarily over social media like Facebook? Did it spread the fastest?
What do you mean the issues, as in the tensions? Not really. No, the government released the white paper as it traditionally would have.
The issue as in...
The debate. The debate, did it take place on the social media? I think a lot of it did.
So on certain Facebook pages such as The Real Singapore, Escape, I've noticed some very interesting memes that constantly highlight the negative aspects of population white paper.
Welcome to the social media.
So could it be that Singaporeans are actually getting a one-sided view of the white paper?
I think there is a sense, I mean, it depends on what your source of information is. If you just live in the online world, suffice to say that there's the standard of editorial objectiveness online and editorial oversight online is a lot lower than what you would find on the mainstream media. But then, of course, the other argument is, the mainstream media is so heavily influenced by the government, you only read the positive things. But then on the online media, you only read the negative things because the online media also are run by people who have their own political agendas.
So strike a balance, read the print media and also read the online media, use your discretion.
And also listen to radio. Because
I'm curious to know if that a balance can be struck between the intake of foreigners and the well-being of Singaporeans, because we know that foreigners are needed in Singapore for a larger talent pool and the diversity of Singapore. But then it cannot be too great such that we Singaporeans need to compete with them for jobs and housing, and this will discourage us from starting a family in the future, which will also lower the population.
So it goes back to the age-old question, how do you strike a balance between quality of life and competitiveness? Because if you say that you think it's not desirable that Singaporeans have to compete too much with foreigners, then what is that going to be doing to our economy? Because we don't operate in an isolated, we are geographically an island, but economically we are not an island, right? So what will that do to the level of our competitiveness here in Singapore if the attitude is Singaporeans first? Because there will always be people outside of Singapore who are better than us, right? Does anybody want to take that question?
But the fundamental principle is that you must be good enough to compete. No matter who you are.
It should be complete, not compete. What do you mean by that?
Many foreigners should come to Singapore thinking that they're completing Singapore, not competing Singapore.
Why didn't you say that when we were on air? That's such a brilliant quote. Why didn't you say that when we were on air? That's a great insight.